This is our third episode of Last Week Today. We're going to stay with that name for another week. and my name's Chuck. Huh?
For today.
Yeah, for today. And I'm Chuck Black, and I'm here with Al Calder, and we are going to discuss the top stories of the week as posted on Freedom Foreign News. Does that make sense, Al?
Absolutely, Chuck. Every week.
Every week we're going to do this. Hopefully we provide some context for what's going on in the world. Hopefully we provide some context for the various ways all the stories fit together, and hopefully we provide some insight into where the world is going. And with that said and done.
I kind of feel as though it was worth mentioning, Chuck, that we provide a different perspective than, say, the mainstream narrative for real. And it's a lot of people are coming to us looking for that. And that's what the kind of narrative I think that we're fighting against in many ways.
Yeah, I agree entirely. It's too easy to get stuck in the trees when you see individual stories. We want to try and put some of this together across the country just to give people an idea of what's really going on. And I actually think that's really important this week because so many of our stories deal with the same topic, which I think is a pretty wild thing.
Why put up the screen? Let's go over this then, Chuck.
Absolutely. Here we go.
And this story too is one of those. It's the sort of stories that I have a personal attachment to very much. So that one of my favorite people being Hildebrand is my favorite man of God, right?
Yeah, that reminds me our big stories this week. We don't just have one of them. We have Waterloo Church fined $83,000 for violating COVID-19 restrictions. This is a Waterloo church that was fined for holding services. We have a second story in here. Church's challenge of public health rules back in the BC Supreme Court. That's not been decided as of now. We have a third story. Alberta pastors cited for COVID-19 violations remain jailed after his
Unbelievable.
bail dismissed. He is going to be stuck in jail probably till May, maybe even June, before his case goes to court. And his bail conditions were that he not go to church, he not do his he not preach in favor of God. He not do all the things that he gets paid to do as a pastor.
So, Chuck, well, I'll keep going. Are we going? Are we going to go through the story then? That
Yeah, we're
one.
going to go through the first one first. This is
All right.
the Alberta pastor.
Yeah.
This is in Alberta. His bail hearing came up, I believe it was on Wednesday, and he lost an appeal of his bail conditions.
Mm.
I find that
It's
awful.
troubling. It's very, very troubling indeed, Chuck. It's troubling, like, as in they used to be like a separate estate then, right?
Yeah.
Like, and they're much different than it is back then, back now, or they're very different than back when these rules were set.
Yeah.
But this is a tragedy though, because there's a lot of people go to Catholic schools, for example, and
Yeah.
our government pays for them,
Yeah.
like partially as well. I'm not sure how it goes, but they're very much sanctioned though, at least.
Yeah, I agree. This is Pastor James Coates, who was the pastor of the Grace Life Church in Parkland Country, about a half an hour outside of Edmonton. He was originally cited back in January, I believe, uh, for holding church services in his church, which was at the time against the law under Alberta health regulations. He was.
He should have had church services in a Walmart then.
Yeah, because Walmart's allowed to stay open. I mean, Walmart's an essential service. Evidently, religion is not an essential service.
Mhm.
And he was granted bail on condition that he not go to church, not have sermons, not preach to his flock. And he eventually turned himself back in because he said he could not abide by those conditions. And this was such an egregious error that it actually made CTV news. And that the legacy media has traditionally been really bad at telling stories of this type.
What do you mean by that, Chuck?
They don't want to talk about pastors being cited for preaching because
Why do you
that's
think that is?
bad.
Why do
That's bad. They would rather have pastors cited for COVID-19 violations because those are like traffic violations, or that's like murder, or that's like a bad thing. How can you possibly cite a person for relaying the word of God to his flock?
this is the kind of story that makes people think, who's next? Me?
Yeah. This is a Protestant pastor, reasonably traditional, and he was charged under the Public Health Act for holding services at his church while ignoring COVID-19 health restrictions, which basically mean you can't get together with anybody or talk to them.
Not even for Christ's sake.
Yeah, he appealed his bail conditions, but he lost the case. And the judge, Justice Peter Mikulishin, I believe that's the gentleman's name, he said that Coates remained unrepentant and intended to continue violating public health orders, by holding church service.
Unrepentant, huh? Like what a classless word to use.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh my God. Like you don't have to believe in whatever that man believes in, but you can't be a dickhead about it. Like that truly feels slap in the face kind of language too. I'm
yeah, a
serious.
judge calling a pastor unrepentant.
Yes.
I think you've told me
This
about
is
this in the past. These are process violations, aren't they?
it doesn't matter. Regardless, it doesn't matter though. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It doesn't even matter for shit, Chuck, because he said it though. Is the whole point of it now.
Yeah,
Right?
but the idea is that the judge is saying to the pastor, "You are not showing me the proper respect." That's what I see here.
It depends what violations they charge it with. What they threw him in jail for then. If he's pre-violating these regulations, right?
Yeah, or he said he cannot abide by those regulations.
Then he's like, it's like pre-speeding. Where do I pay my ticket? I'm gonna be, like it's like it could be called a process violation, but it's more of like a forced issue that they don't get a lot of these things, Chuck.
No, they don't.
This isn't I'm a werewolf tie me up in your jail at night kind of thing here.
Yeah.
Like what this is a serious thing though. Anyway, this is the problem is that how this is this is extremely unconstitutional garbage though.
I would say so. I would say these bail conditions are very common for members and organizers in the Canadian freedom movement and in the Canadian churches right now. They are told that they can't organize protests anymore. They can't go to church anymore. They can't even talk about their crimes. And the idea is you charge a few of these people every week, and then less people show up at church, less people show up at parades, and everybody gets afraid.
Yeah, like gathering, church. Those are like the Constitution, like specifically for real.
Yeah.
Like this is this is ridiculous.
I think it is. The second court case, let me see if we can get back to it, also causes me a little bit of concern. Pastor Coates is not the only one who has been charged under Canadian law. Members of the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom, representing a variety of BC churches, are in court last week, and there's not been a judgment made yet, but they're arguing over the legality of the COVID-19 rules that prohibit in-person religious services. And I think this is most egregious in BC because you mentioned earlier that Walmarts are open, but gyms and a lot of restaurants, even some movie theaters are open in BC right now, but the BC government hasn't got around to allowing the churches to open back up.
Well, I mean, the point is this whole thing, Chuck, is the Constitution, right?
Yes.
And these guys are the lawyers that are going to challenge these sort of ridiculous measures. And I'm wondering how how many lawyers do you have to send for this stuff then? Because the truth is, this is ridiculous. This is truly egregious amount of time this has been going on for, and it's getting worse and worse. And I don't. It has to end, and it's not ending.
It's not ending. I note that the people bringing the suit,
Mhm.
the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms, did an interview with Rebel News a couple days back where they said they are so overworked they're hoping to hire 4 or 5 more lawyers over the next few
Yeah,
weeks.
I saw that. I saw that.
So that just gives you an idea of what's going on. We're not allowed to do things that I always thought we had a certain amount of freedom to do.
Chuck, we do. It's constitutional free. We have the constitutional freedoms then, but they're not living up to the laws that we. They're not living up to the law. That's what they're doing for real.
I would agree with that. It's slowly winding its way through the courts. And here's another one, but it hasn't done so yet. And I believe the first court case was filed back in April or May of last year, and that hasn't come to the Supreme Court yet either. Anyway, here's another one. A Waterloo, Ontario church has been fined a total of $83,000 for being open in January for an in-person church service. This is January 22nd. Trinity Bible Chapel was ordered to temporarily halt indoor gatherings in compliance with the COVID-19 safety protocols. Those are the protocols that were changed about 2 weeks ago. So it looks like the protocols were in place for another month and then they expired. But the court case is still here, and you disobeyed the law when the law was in place, and you
To
still
be
got to
fair,
pay
Chuck,
the money, huh?
to be fair, Chuck, that is the rules though. Like that, if we want to live in a land governed by laws, those are the rules, for right or
Yeah,
wrong. Leave the
I,
laws
I
as they exist. Then
I accept that, but I also think the rules restricting church service is a set of rules that are unconstitutional. I really wish somebody would expedite this court case and all the other court cases like it, or even one of the court cases like this to the Supreme Court, and then publicize the results. Because right now, nobody's ever going to collect this $83,000. This gentleman is going to keep having church services until he has a crisis of conscience and says, I'm not going to even pretend to abide by any rules or regulations that say I can't be a minister anymore.
no, he's gonna say, "Listen, I can't. This is how I pay my bills.
Yeah.
I've got a. He's probably got a family or a chance at families or whatever they do in that religion, and he can have a life, and that's his job. Seriously,
Yeah.
not my
Yeah.
thing, but it's his job.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I've seen court cases in Manitoba where lower level justices just take 15 or 20 of these tickets and they throw them out, and they
They
say,
dick around too.
yeah, they don't want to even judge them. They don't want to
That,
even.
that's the one thing you learn in law school, Chuck, is that we talk about all the time because you had to read a lot of cases in law school, of course, and they're
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
they dance around things that they don't want to talk about, and
Yeah.
so that's why they release separate parts of the judgment with the cases as well. Then at the same time, with talking about things that they avoid, it's just because they don't want to make a judgment on anything.
Yeah.
They want to make this existing law. They don't want to make a law.
Yeah.
They just want to just do their job, right? But anyway.
So there's dozens of cases across the country right now where the actual charges have been thrown out, but no judge has adjudicated upon the underlying law. So what happens is that nobody believes the law, but the police still charge people with it, and we all go through the pretend.
There has to be constitutional challenges to the law,
Yeah.
right? Then they have to be heard in court, and then the guys that goes up and up and up to superior court, they have to keep upholding it or not.
Yeah.
And that's that's just how it works.
Nobody wants to adjudicate in a court case of this matter.
Law is egregiously slow at
Yeah.
changing anything. And their boss is the politician, and
Yeah.
it's just they just take a long time to do anything. It's paperwork. It's government paperwork constantly, right?
I find it offensive that the court's not expediting these charges. A
Oh
lot of
no.
businesses are going bankrupt. A lot of people are out of work. There's a rise in mental health problems,
Oh
uh,
no.
simply from people being afraid to go outside,
Yeah.
and just a lack of services, and a lot of stupid stuff being done right now that would immediately go away if somebody on the bench got brave.
The thing is though, it's not getting brave. This is easy. This is easy. The Constitution is the law. Everyone who has a law degree knows that. Judges all have law degrees. They know the Constitution like the back of their hand.
Yeah.
They get that. This is not. This is unconstitutional, and they know it already.
Why are the judges refusing to judge?
Why? Because they've got a sweet gig, right?
Yeah. Why do
Well,
you
the
think
thing
they get fired if they came down with the wrong decision?
here, Chuck. The thing is, it's not gone up to the Supreme Court yet, right?
Yeah.
And they're the ones who have to. They're the ones who are going to have to pull the trigger on that. They really are.
The justice is not being done right now because nobody is expediting the process where the Supreme Court can make the final decision.
To be fair, a lot of people who had the marijuana laws were judged exactly the same way, though, and
Yeah.
well as the people who were in jail for the marijuana laws, which is a huge amount of people in Canada as well.
I agree. This sort of thing is following along previous patterns.
And so, you know what I mean? So they can't just release the people who were in jail for the marijuana legislation because they made it now you can smoke it now, but you know.
No, I agree. Here is my second favorite article of the week. I find this one to be particularly important. This is anti-lockdown political beliefs at center of child custody battle. And this is a Windsor judge who has ruled that a person's vocal disbelief about COVID-19 is a factor in a child custody case. This is Ontario Superior Court Justice George King. He has denied a Windsor man interim custody of his kids because of the man's fervent anti-masking belief. And the justice doesn't think that the man would take appropriate actions to keep them safe from COVID-19. Further down in the article, it's noted explicitly that this gentleman is active in the freedom movement. He's been responsible for a number of protests, and his political beliefs are taken as proof that he wouldn't take appropriate actions to keep his kids safe from COVID-19. What do you think of that?
I think that a judge is in no position to make that judgment. Like assumptions of breaking the law is not proper thing for a judge to do. There are the
Well,
judges here. Here's the thing. The judges are there's two parts of law. The one is a judger of the trier of fact, right? And one is a trier of the law. So was he at this location? Blah blah blah, and is that illegal? Right. And so but they're both separate from each other though as well. And the judge who said that, it sounds like he is making a factual judgment on the law based on no facts.
I think that's quite possible. As a matter of fact, I remember reading this article, and if we go down a little bit, what did he say?
Like, despite the fact that I know exactly who they're probably talking about.
Yeah, there are 3 or 4 men in the freedom movement as we speak who are in custody battles with their wives and their ex-wives, and it's a bad thing. This is something that is indeed tearing apart families.
Indeed. The family law is inherently favors the mothers then, and I'm
Yeah,
not super opposed to that, to be honest.
yeah. Here's what I was looking for. Justice King said in his decision, I have concluded that the respondent's behavior is dictated by his worldview. Everything else is subordinate to that view, including but not limited to his love for his children. And the justice makes clear that while the father is free to have whatever beliefs he wishes and to lawfully express them, the issue is the impact on the health of the children. And you're right. I think the judge is explicitly drawing conclusions to the overall health of the children.
But anyway,
I would argue that my favorite positive story is an American story from our American feeds. 16 American states are now following the science and shutting down all the lockdown legislation. They are reopening normally. I think they are getting some pushback from the Joe Biden government in Washington, but they are mostly attempting to reopen normally. And there's a lot of resonance to stop playing God with the public health regulations.
Oh, there's what's the Biden government? Is that is that the Kamala Harris one? Like,
Yeah, it could be the Kamala Harris government.
sorry,
Biden is Uncle Joe.
I don't want. I was just kidding here, but don't want to get involved in their problems.
Yeah.
I'll further that, but I feel as if the one I was thinking though, DeSantis, who is the governor of Florida, then
Yes.
he's been pushing against this for months, or like a while though. Like he's been banning the various counties in around or in Florida then from making their own laws about the masks and the stuff like that, right? Declaring their own lockdowns.
Yeah.
He passed a law about that then. And he's been fighting against that in DeSantis though in Florida then. And
Yes.
he's a bit of he's not my favorite politician by any stretch of the imagination, but the fact that he's doing that, so he passed some legislation saying that they cannot do that now.
I agree. I agree 100%. He was one of the first to do this.
I know.
Texas, I think, was the second, and a dozen plus other American states have jumped on board, and to me, it's a good thing. It's 100% good thing.
Oh, I agree. This sad that we have to have this kind of pushback and rely on the states to push back from their own government. Then this is just how it works in Canada.
Yeah, and how it works in the U.S. We learn much from following the example of our American cousins. This seems to be the sort of thing that won't happen top down. We can't lobby Justin Trudeau to make things right. He may not want to make things right at this point. He may not care about making things right. He may not understand that things are wrong. He may not understand how bad things are. I mean, he's got a cottage. He's safely tucked away. He's safe. He doesn't know that the cost of bread is going up.
What about Chuck? He watches the news though.
Yeah, he watches the news. He watches CBC.
The case count. Whew.
Did we miss anything? We've got 12 stories since last Monday. Is there anything else you particularly want to talk about?
Go scan through while I'm here. Then there was something else I thought about. Go scan a bit further.
I'm gonna go down to the bottom. Mississippi governor rolls back COVID-19 restrictions. That relates to the story we just talked about.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well.
Bankruptcy wave has begun. Many more are coming. That relates to the cost of bread starting to go up.
This is worth it, Chuck. Let's talk about it here.
Okay.
But the thing, this is how it starts though too, right, Chuck? Is I always talk about this being. I'm a one-trick pony here. My one trick is the French Revolution, and I feel I compare everything because that was so formative into our society now as well. That it's worth referring to as evidence of. We can take an example from that.
Yeah.
And the rich people who have businesses are the ones who lop the king's head off, right? Thereby taking society's power to the money class from the royal class.
No, I agree with this 100%.
Now it's different though. Now they have to take the head off the snake for the administrative class.
Yeah.
They just administer everyone into submission here.
Yeah.
And it has feeding into everything and anyway. Please go. I'll go on then.
This is a post from an investment counselor, and he's saying that there are things you can do to make money off of other people going bankrupt. But to me, the most important takeaway is that there are far more people going bankrupt now than there ever has been before. And I don't think that's a good thing.
Yeah, but that's maybe you're probably right. But I feel as if I used to work in with mortgages, right?
Yeah, you're a mortgage broker.
So we would sell mortgages to people who needed them to pay for their bills and use their house as collateral.
Yep.
And then eventually there'll be no collateral left in anyone's houses then.
Yeah, no, I agree. And who knows, maybe by 2025, maybe by 2030, we'll all own nothing and be
Mhm.
happy.
Oh my God, great plan. Well,
Yeah.
they will be happy then.
Yeah. Uh, whoops.
Jesus.
I can
Oh,
never get
oh
this
my
right.
God.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not pressing the buttons right.
XXX dots what?
Eh, Here we go again. Also, I think it's worth noting earlier in the week, Conservative MP David Sweet got kicked out of caucus, the Conservative caucus in Ottawa, and he's calling for an end to COVID-19 restrictions. I think that's sweet of him.
Oh, actually clever.
Yeah, yeah.
A rose by any other name would smell as MP David Street.
Yeah, he went on vacation
Oh,
someplace warm over Christmas against the advice of his fearless leaders, and he got caught. Some of the conservatives, some of the liberals didn't get caught. We're still working on that, but
well, Chuck, if we know who they were, how could they not be caught? Like,
yeah, good point. Good point. I think it's worth noting that premiers repeat demand for almost 30 billion in new federal health transfer payments. This is anticipation of a federal budget, which still hasn't come down. It's been about 2 years for Ottawa. The Liberals haven't brought down a new budget yet, but the various provincial governments want more money, and that's what so much of this pandemic is about these days. People deciding who gets extra money and people deciding who gets paid, and it's all supposed to be centrally structured and centrally planned out, but the people at the top of the food chain always end up with more than the people further down.
that's weird.
Yeah.
The like yeah, it's like what the parents always get to tell the kids when to go to bed as well, right?
Yeah.
The
I
thing about the healthcare though, my take on healthcare is that it's not as if the government of Canada pays for the healthcare. They transfer the money to the provinces with stipulations, right?
Yes.
And caveats here. The deal is we will give you the money as long as you live up to our standards.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it makes it they're more entrenched within the federal government's standards as well.
Yeah, healthcare has traditionally been a provincial responsibility, but if the provincial governments take the federal money, they are beholden to the federal government. Yeah.
Yeah, it still is the provincial responsibility. They have just decided to outsource the services to the government.
Yeah. No, I agree 100%.
I'm not complaining about that. It's just a very Canadian solution to their half-ass solution to our problems. Like,
Yeah. And our final two stories this week, we have a new one-on-one with Doug Force, John Mihalovic. He is a cameraman out of Alberta. He's been doing some good stories on the Alberta freedom movement. And Rosemary Free has her latest story on the science behind COVID. This one's called The Antibody Deception. And I frankly think she's getting better each time she writes something. Very knowledgeable, very strong writing. I encourage everybody to take a look at what she
I agree.
does.
And in fact, she has attracted quite a bit of attention to the tune of she was with Corbett on the Corbett report.
James Corbett, I guess he's like not even 40 yet, but he is the granddaddy of alternative journalists these days.
Mhm.
Very well respected as well.
Oh, he's been doing this he was doing this before the internet started, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. It's hard to believe we've come this far, and
Mm.
if we still had Pulitzer prizes that meant anything, Corbett would be up for one.
You know what? He's better than that.
And with that said and done, I am going to stop sharing the page,
Mhm.
and I'm going to encourage everyone, if they listen to this video and they like what they see, please, please, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It'll help keep the algorithm gods happy and boost our ratings in on YouTube and on BitChute and on Brighteon and all the other places we're posting.
If you have gold you want to give us, just put in a bag. We'll send you our address and we'll work with you whatever you want. Anything.
that reminds me of the big thing this week. We've got our first ad on the website. We
Mhm,
we are
exactly.
driving revenue this week, so you
Very,
should be
we're very,
happy for
we're
us.
very proud of that. You
Yeah,
know, 'Cause this is a people don't understand. This is a lot of work to get this operational and everything like that.
yeah.
And we have people working all over the place, and they were just doing a great job on getting this up. And it's just nice when this comes to fruition for real.
We have a core team, some very smart people. We
I
are
agree.
working very hard, and we will likely need to work harder. It's nice that we're getting to do some of the things we haven't had a chance to do up until now, and it's only been 3 months into this process. So I think we're very lucky.
Like without I know without without trying to sound like a telephone here or anything like that, Chuck. But the thing is, the money though, what we do with the money, we take the money, we improve the software, we improve whatever technology that we have to be able to send more information to more people and have greater reach. That's it. Like it's not like we're going on cruises with this. What was it, $100? Like we're still barely covering our costs here. Like
No, I agree. We don't even have enough for a good bottle of scotch yet, but
I
we're working
exactly.
on it.
I do, but Chuck, man, he's dying over there. This crappy scotch. Well, the thing is, nice, Katie. I don't rich at all, but that Chuck, though, I think it's worth mentioning, though, the money that we are getting at ways to support this. I feel as if I should tell people the media is a tough thing, and we are fighting against the mainstream media's message, and we're trying to get a way for everyone to work together to towards all of our eventual goals. And that's what it's nice to have people that are on the same team, you know?
I agree. We're competing against billion-dollar
Yeah,
gross behemoths, and
yeah.
I don't know. I figure we'll be able to compete against them pretty well over the next couple of months.
Hey, Chuck, I couldn't agree more, though. I agree very much so. It's just worth spreading the good news. The good. I don't care if we get any money from anyone. Just think about who you're supporting when you go anywhere, though, because people in the media could use some a hand here and there, us or anyone who are independently funded.
And with that said and done, this is Last Week Today. Every Monday, Al and I get together and we go over the top stories we posted in Freedom Forum News. We'll be back next Monday.